Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We will begin with chapter 14, verse 15. So Moshe Rabbeinu has just told the Jewish people, we had last time the reaction of the Jewish people praying, complaining. Moshe Rabbeinu says, you stand here, you're going to see a great salvation from God. And then in verse 14, he says, God will fight for you. And you should just be quiet, watch and see. And now that seems to be a wonderful leadership and clarity and everything. Verse 15, Vayomer Hashem Moshe, Hashem said to Moshe, Ma titzak Eloi, what are you shouting to me for? What are you calling to me for? Daber b'nei Yisrael v'yiso, speak to the Jewish people, and they should go. Let everybody go. It's time to go in. So the most obvious question on this pasuk is, when is Moshe calling to God? He's not calling to God. He's saying to them, great things are going to happen. So if the instruction from Hashem is that they should go, then they should go. But what's this matit sakilai? What are you calling to before? He wasn't calling to God. So let's see the Ramban. Ramban on pasuk Tesvav. Matit sakilai. Amar Reb Avram, ki Moshe kineged kol Yisrael, shoyutzoakim lo. K'moshe Amar, vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem. So the Ibn Ezra says, God is speaking to Moshe as the representative of the Jewish people. So what he's saying is, why are you, the collective Jewish people, calling out to God? It's not the time to daven, it's the time to go. So it's not Moshe, it's Klal Yisrael there. We saw a few psukim ago that the Jewish people were davening. The Ramban says, V'im kain lama amar matitzak elai roy lehem litzok. The problem, says the Ramban, is okay, fine, that explains what it's talking about, but it's very difficult to understand. It seems to be criticizing them for davening. Why would you criticize them for davening? What else should they be doing right now? If you tell them, good job davening, here's the answer, go into the sea, then okay, that's the answer. But matitzakilai sounds like, what in the world are you doing with yourself? What do you mean? There's no obvious solution. Why shouldn't they be davening right now? V'ulayomar matanichim litzok daber lehem v'yisok kikvar marti l'cha v'yikavdav v'faro. So maybe, says the Ramban, the pshat is that God is saying to Moshe that you should have listened to what I told you earlier. God says to Moshe, we mentioned this pasuk earlier in the week, God says to Moshe, I'm going to harden Paro's heart, and they're going to chase after you, and I'll be glorified by Paro and all of his army. So what that means is something remarkable is going to happen. So maybe, says the pshat is, Hashem is saying to Moshe, didn't you hear what I said to you? I told you something was great was going to happen, which means just do something dramatic and something great will happen. So tell them they're not supposed to daven, they're supposed to do something dramatic, and God will answer in kind. Maybe that's the pshat. That's the criticism. It's not a criticism of the people, it's a criticism of Moshe. For Abu Seinu Amru, Shaya Moshe Tzoikum Espal. It's a medrash that Moshe himself was davening. Vu Anachon. And the Ramban says that's a good pshat. Kilo Yada Ma Yaseh. Moshe Rabbeinu did not know what to do. He just didn't know what should be. It's true. God said to Moshe, I will be glorified through what happens to Paro. It's true that God said that to Moshe. But Moshe doesn't know what that means. Moshe knows what the words means, but what am I supposed to do? What? So he's davening to Hashem, please give me clarity. He's on the edge of the sea. And the enemy is closing in. And God is, and he's davening to God, please tell me what to do. I believe you're going to do something great, but I don't know what button to press. And the Ramban says that's what God means when he says to Moshe, what are you calling to me for? Because you need to ask, You don't have to daven, oh Hashem, please help. Just ask a substantive question. What am I supposed to do now? Dear God, what am I supposed to do now? Just ask that question and I'll answer you. I don't know why you're having these general tefillos for. And I'll tell you that what you need to do is go. The question is not, will I help you or not? I already told you I was going to become glorified over Paro. What happened next? So you know I'm going to help you. Fine. You don't know what to do, so just ask what to do. But according to Ramban, with this medrash, it's Moshe was davening. It doesn't say that Moshe was davening. So why doesn't it say that Moshe was davening if that's the pshat? So he says, Q b'chlal Yisrael. It says the Jewish people daven. Moshe Rabbeinu happens to be a member of the Jewish people. So he was part of that. So that's the story according to the Ramban. So the Ibn Ezra says that the pshat is it's a collective criticism of the Jewish people. What are you davening for? You should go. And the Ramban says maybe part of what the Ibn Ezra means is that Moshe should have told them to just go based on what God said before. But the Ramban says Moshe was just davening, Hashem, please help. He says, what do you mean, please help? This is what you should do. And if you don't know what to do, just ask, what should you do? That's the Ramban's pshat. Let's see the Sforno. Sforno is a very novel approach over here. Sforno on Tesvav. Ma titzak elai, ki amnam, hu haya bichlal, vayitzaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem. First of all, the Sforno answers the question of, well, who said Moshe was davening, like the Ramban says. It says the Jewish people daven to God. So Moshe's part of that. So Moshe, among the rest of the Jews, was davening to God. Amram. Soakas Moshe lo haisam yiras paro b'chelo. The call of Moshe was not out of fear for Paro. Ki kvar higad Yisrael as mapolas hamitzrim umisasam ka'amro lo sosifu lirosam od adolam Hashem yilochem lochem. Moshe has every confidence right now. Moshe already told the Jewish people a few seconds ago, you're going to see great salvation. They're going to die. Everything's going to be wonderful. Aval haisat kaso al meri Yisrael sheizu pneim ba'amram hamibli ein kfarim. Sforno says, you know what Moshe is davening for? Not help against the Egyptians. He knows God's going to take care of that. He needs help with the Jews. That he's very frustrated and befuddled, honestly. What's he supposed to say to them now? God's about to bring this great salvation, and they're saying, what, you took us here to die? Now, what's he going to say now? He's going to turn to them and say, well, we're going to just go into the sea, and I'm sure everything's going to be great. They're already complaining. He's going to tell them his solution is to jump into the sea. They're not going to do that. So Hashem says to Moshe, don't scream to me about this. You're unfairly suspecting the Jews of being uncooperative. Speak to the Jewish people and go. And they won't rebel against you. I'm telling you, says God. They won't rebel against you. It's a very interesting shot from this one. Okay, let's go on to verse 16. So now in verse 16, God gave Moshe very clear direction: raise your staff, strike the sea, I'm going to split the sea. The Jewish people should walk through the middle. And now in verse 17, God says, I'm going to harden the heart of the Jews, of the Egyptians. And the Egyptians will follow in. And I will be glorified by Paro and all of his legion, with his horse and chariot. Why do they need to know at this moment that God is going to harden Paro's heart or the Egyptians' heart? So it made sense that they know before. The Orach Chaim, I think it was the Orach Chaim already discussed before, they shouldn't be surprised when the Egyptians are coming. The Egyptians are here. So, isn't the answer, just come in and I'm going to take care of you? Why does he tell them, by the way, I'm going to harden the heart of the Egyptians? This is an interesting Orach Chaim on the Pasuk, Orach Chaim Yud Zayin. Vani and Ani Mechazek. B'chemlas Hashem Aleim. In God's compassion for them. Niskavin lo diam kodem. L'val yifachadu. God wanted to tell them first what was going to happen so that they shouldn't be afraid. Birosam ki hayam nishar chaluk lifnei hamitzrayim. It's a pretty scary moment. So it's scary before the sea splits. Then the sea splits, and that's amazing. And then they get through, and that's amazing. And what's supposed to happen now? What would happen if we were writing the story and we didn't know how it worked? What would happen would be the sea would close up again, not drown the Egyptians. The Jews would get through, the sea would close up again, and then it'd be all over, and they'd keep on going. But that's not what's going to happen. They're going to turn around, and there's Egyptians also going through. That's very, very scary. Yashuvu lachshov machshavos ulahamenu amuna believem. Then it's more than just they'll be scared. Their faith might diminish in the moment. V'yomru hinehema olam acharenu. And the Jews will say, "Oy vey, the Egyptians are coming after us." V'yiru ma'od, and they'll be very afraid. Lazeh hodiam v'yamar lahem, and therefore he tells them, to ulachem kimimeni hayu advarim li kavigbo. Know that there's going to be this terrifying moment that the Egyptians are following in. This is all part of the plan. Don't be scared when you see the Egyptians follow you in. Fani poresh reshes ragleim. I'm just laying a trap for them. Okay. In verse 20. So before the splitting of the sea, this pillar of the cloud stands between the Jews and the Egyptians. Verse 20, Vayavo be'machne Mitzrayim be'machne Yisrael. This pillar of the cloud comes between the Egyptian camp and the Jewish camp. Vayianon v'choshech, there was cloud and there was darkness. Vayores halayla, and it lit up the night. V'lo karav zeh el zeh kol halayla. And this one didn't come close to that one throughout the night. Kli yakar on pasachaf. V'lo karav zeh el zeh piresh Rashi. Machane al machane. What does it mean? This one didn't come close to that one. So Rashi says it means one camp didn't come close to the other. In other words, that there was this great division between the Egyptians. There was this buffer between the Egyptians and the Jews before the sea split. Remez yesh lefasro al Yisrael. But you could also say this actually references the Jewish people. Kiyomer Razal, the rabbis teach, Arba kitos nasu avosenu al hayam, v'lo haya ba'askama achas. The Jewish people had all these different plans at the sea, and they couldn't agree. Zeh omer beko, v'zeh beko. Each one had a different plan. This one said they should go into the water. This one said they should give up. This one said they should fight the Egyptians. This one said they should die. They're all, I think I got it right. They all said different things. How Cain lo karav zeh el zeh kol halayla b'data. Very interesting shot. They couldn't agree. So you have this throughout the night, there's this remarkable confusion. And there's something amazing to think about, that they're about to have a great miracle, and yet they have terrible confusion before the great miracle comes. This is an interesting shot to think about. And then only in verse 21 does Moshe extend his staff. Interesting to just reflect on. That sometimes in life, that's part of the journey sometimes. The confusion, everyone thinking for themselves, it gets frustrating, but I think it's worth reflecting on. So we discussed this morning different pshatim and what God is saying when he says, "Why are you calling out to me?" We discussed the Orach Chaim in what Hashem is saying when he tells them, "I'm going to harden the heart of the Egyptians." And we discussed this interesting alternative to what it means. This one didn't come close to that one through the night.